Hey, what's going on? It's me again. I watched some of the last video I did, and I got to apologize because I was bouncing you around like titties on a treadmill. It just what made me nauseous watching it. So I'm going to try to not walk around with the camera so much anymore because apparently I'm not very graceful. What we got right now is fender for the dart. Dart fender. This will be the passenger fender or the right side. As you can see here, it's close enough. There's some perforations, and I can even take a little feeder. We got problems. So what we got to do here is this is the inner brace. Fix that. Fix that. That's what we do. Is we fix that. So what I have to fix all this is the owner supplied some panels. A couple of rust out panels. You can see the rust out panels. There's no rust on them. So the way these Dodges work is this will be your lower fender section. Goes down, inner brace work. Not unless you're going to use that entire piece. All you get just what it takes to get into solid steel. Because this is not the same as that, nor will it ever be. And this is not the same as that, nor will it ever be. The reason these things rust out here is the way these fenders are constructed. This inner brace fits into the fender like so, kind of. And then this flange here from the factory is rolled over this inner brace edge. And they put a weld like every 6-8 inches, whatever. And the reason they get so bad in here is, I don't know if you can see this, what angle is working, or not at all. But it's wide open here. See where my fingers go? They go right up in there. So when you're driving, and the wheels are turning, and the shit's a-flapping, this shit flaps right up in there. And it gets stuck up in there because there is a space, and it builds and builds and builds, and then the moisture stays and it rusts and rusts and rusts. So, first issue we have with these parts, now I'm not going to name the supplier of these parts, but it is your high-end, reputable 3-letter supplier, and it ain't great. I mean, Taiwanese junk is Taiwanese junk, and I don't give a shit how you spell Taiwanese. It's still spelled J-U-N-K. First issue that we have, when I fit this up here kind of somewhat where it needs to be, is whether you can see it or not. When that's down there, the outer edge of that fender, it disappears. It's there, but it disappears. So this is too wide here to start with. That's going to give a problem. If you think you're just going to take your parts, zing, weld it up, flange it, fit it to the car, while your gap ain't. Because I mean, this is, by the time you get this over this, that flanged over that and welded in place, sitting on the stand, she's dandy. Sitting on the car, that's a bad day. Because this line here ain't going to be right, and it's got to be right to fit the fender. Fender, door, they got to be right to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'll start by trimming this edge back a bit, getting it to fit there a little bit. To do this, you're going to want this repair section to be smaller than this repair section, so that you can hide it in behind. If that makes any sense to you? Might when I'm done, and it still might not make any sense to you at all. This panel doesn't fit too bad. Hold it up there, it's got this ear that would go to a, I don't know what the hell you call it, a piece that Dodge puts in there to, ironically, to try to keep shit off of here. But then you just leave a window open in the bottom. But I hold this piece up here. It's not bad. We're not 100. We're, 85, 90, whatever. But I mean, it's workable. So I'm going to walk around there and hit pause, and I'm going to do some shit with some stuff here, and then I'll hit pause again and show you a little bit of what's going on as it's going on. Cut. Fender's hung. like John Holmes. Scratch that. Anyways, it's important when you're going to be doing this much work to make sure that, as I said before, the panel fits the car. Dodges. You pretty much have to anchor the fender, and maybe not all its bolting points, but most of them, because as I'll demonstrate, I don't know if you can see me up here or not, but there's bolts in the front up here and there's adjustment, and it has to be adjusted to fit the front end shed. But, so if you watch over Chomp, when I move this, just a little bit, like, I mean, I'm going to move it like 3/16 of an inch, not much. But if I move that just a little bit, can you see the way that whole fender moves? So what that means is when you get to the point, if you're doing any work in this area here, it doesn't affect this quite as much. But when you're doing your body work on it, you got to have this fender set and tight where it's going to land when it's shiny. Because when you're doing your body work and you're blocking and whatnot through here, this has to be where the finished product is going to be. So it's got to be bolted, it's got to be tight, it's got to be anchored, and it's got to be there. Because if you straighten everybody out here, but then when it lands on the car, it's got to be there for adjustment, you just lost it. It ain't there no more. See what I'm saying? It's because the fender is basically just, it's like just a big metal beach towel that Dodge throws on there, because these things have inner aprons, inner fenders, everything else. It's a unibody car. But anyways, the point was to make sure that your panel fits, you got it on there tight, and that your gap is good. It's a little fat down here, but I mean, we're there. I got no bolts down here. We're there, right? So once we're there, we're there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but our lines, they're there as well. So knowing that it fits, get it off of there, and time to wreck it. Cut. I got earplugs in, so I don't know if I'm yelling or not. Here's the point of no return. Go ahead and insert Jewish foreskin jokes, if you will. I don't know how loud this is going to get for you either. I don't know if you need to cover your ears. It's very loud. There we go. It's being patched already. I didn't know that. You can't tell. Sometimes people say, well, you should know by, well, I didn't know by looking. All right. Can you see how that's 2 layers? Can you tell that's been patched? And you still see right through it. Huh. Well, whoop-dee-doo, whoop-dee-doo, whoop-dee-doo. So we gotta make sure where we're gonna land roughly. We still got lots to work with. I don't want to go up that high, but I'm gonna have to get up beyond previous. So this, let me get those out. This brings to mind why I named my channel what I did. I started this in 2005, and back then there was a dude that used to work on houses that was very popular, and he had a channel with his last name, and then a different word for houses. I won't say the name. H on H, anyways. So I'm out here one day and I'm complaining to my brother that I'm working on some junk, and I gotta fix previous work before I can carry ahead with my work. So he looks at me, and he says, well, I guess I'm gonna say it. So he looks at me and starts laughing and says, your car's on cars, just like at the time it was homes on homes. So never gave that much thought until I decided that I wanted to do this, and then I thought, well, what's a good name? So I've already told my brother that I might have to give him some copyright cash if I ever make more than $7 in my career. Yeah, so anyways, that's where the name comes from. And this is a pretty good example. Like I said, you can't always tell what kind of cake it is underneath the icing. Sometimes it's not cake, it's a shoebox with some icing on it. You just don't know. I'm going to do some more cutting, strutting. Actually, I can see we go up there for quite a bit with, and that might have been there, started for the other guy that patched it. I don't know. But anyways, that's where we start. Cut. Jesus, the floor is a long ways down. Anyway, so we're here. We're back. As you can see by the black, I got the new piece in here. Cut that off. I've left about an inch of the old inner brace dangling. The new piece is fished in behind, and it is clamped tight. In the back, I can feel that the two we're tight. So this is pretty much how the end result gap is going to be. We're flushed this away. We're gapped close enough for this. I still got some adjustment if we need, as well as up there's some adjustment. The lines are lining. All the lines are lining like lines like to line. So what I'm going to do is a couple of tacks, some big boy tacks, and then take the fender back off again. And then I like to butt weld everything because that's just how I bake my cookies. So I'll take it back off again, and then what I'll do is I'll cut through it, through the tack, then I'll bend the new piece back, and then I'll butt weld it in that spot. And then I'll cut through the next tack, bend the piece back, bring them flush together, and butt weld it. And then I'll do it again. And then I'll slowly work my way back and forth butt welding it. And then once it's done, the two pieces are the same thickness. When you cut it, I use a 32nd of an inch cutoff wheel. So that leaves a 32nd of an inch gap. I don't know how many millimeters that is. It's like a dime and a bit. Regardless. So then they will be butt welded into place. I have it, like I said, clamped tight. In the bottom, it is bolted and it is shimmed, because I also, like I said, our height flush here, I mean, it's got to be close. It's that far. So we will repeat this procedure once again. When this is done, I'll fit it back up, make sure that my brace stayed, because everything you weld shrinks. It's not heat that gives you all your warpage. The majority of your warpage comes because when you take steel and you melt it and liquefy it, it expands a little bit. So when you put your little puddle of liquid weld in there, as it cools, it shrinks up a little bit. And that's where you get your warpage and your deformed situations from, is when it shrinks, it pulls. Well, it's got to pull it from somewhere. So usually in sheet metal, when that weld shrinks and pulls, that's where you get your warpage from, because it pulls that metal tight and it cups it in, it cups it the other way. Either way, it's yeah, that's the way it goes. People argue that, I don't care. I've been welded for a little while, and I'll tell you what, you can get shit pretty damn hot in general and not work it. You put a weld in there, it works. I gotta turn the welder on. I'm gonna let you watch this. You don't gotta cover your eyes. So I don't know how noisy it's gonna get over here when I flick the go button. There. And sitting on the floor doing this, here comes the burnt ankle. So next, I am going to remove the bolts, pull the fender off. Actually here, I'll show you, we'll see if this springs. Shims and a bolt. Shims and a bolt. And I would say, we're still lined up down there. I think it's going to work. I know if you're a Dodge guy watching this, and you probably are a Dodge guy watching this, there's supposed to be studs and nuts. Well, we don't need studs and nuts yet. That's the way these Dodges, they mount the bottom fenders. They put a stud in the back and then a couple of nizuts on there. I don't get it, whatever. That's the way it'll go together finally, but right now, don't tell nobody, but that's a GM bolt. Yeah, I guess that's it. So we'll pull that off. I'll finish doing that up, and then I'll start trimming the outer piece, and then I'll start trimming the outer piece. Hope this isn't too boring for you. At least I'm not shaking the shits out of you this time, because you're on the stick there. So bear with me while I get up and shut you off. Holy Jesus. Oh. Okay. Go back. Inner brace is done. Stuff like that, I usually just put some rust paint on it, like some trim clad or whatever, something that's. I like to use a trim clad is what they call a petroleum-based paint, and petroleum-based paint repels moisture. So, anyways, so that's in, done, tightened up. Gaps are still good, lines are still good. This piece, I've done a considerable amount of trimming on it, as well as that piece. So I am to the point now where, once I put that up there, we're not finished here yet. But once I get that where I want it there, our gap is nice still. Our curvature is correct here, and we're where we need to be under here. So what I'm gonna do next is I'll just put a big fat weld right on that corner, right, and then pull the fender off. I'll make one final cut. I'll follow this line with a cut-off wheel to make one final cut. Then that will drop into place. It'll also drop into place down there where it wants to be. Once I do that, then I'll put a weld there to pin it. I'll just be able to visual it to make sure that my crown is still right. As long as we're there, I'll make sure it's all right, okay? Just take my word for it. I'll make sure it's all right. So I'm going to do all that, and then I'll weld it, and then I'll huck it back on the car for about the 37th time in the last hour, and then I guess maybe I'll give you one last peek at it, and then that'll be it, because damn. No, just a second here. Hey. there it is. Inner brace, cut, welded, finished. Outer, trimmed, tacked for a butt weld. You can see very little gap. I didn't finish welding it, but I will. We're not piano fine-tuned here, but I mean everything is well within the parameters of the adjustability that it's going to take to fine-tune it. So the fender comes back off, I'll finish welding it. I guarantee that things are going to pull around a little bit when it's welded. So I'll put it back on again. Hopefully, I mean, there has been times where by the time you get your outer piece finished, it kind of pulls and might move enough that you might have to drill a tack on the outside, reposition something, retack it to get it finished in. Nobody talks about that stuff. Everybody just wants to be the hero. But I wouldn't mind being a hero too, but I think that shifts in. So anyways, there it is. There is the lower fender, inner and outer, on a Dodge A-body, 1967 Dodge Dart. I guess that's it. I don't know. Jibber jabber, blah, blah, blah. That's it. Thanks. See ya.